Namaskar. We are now in 18th session of Cradle Global Webinar Series. We have just completed 2 years. In this important 2 years, we have tried to understand different issues and problems that are afflicting the world and how some alternative measures could solve some of the problems in unique way. And there was one common strand in it. We tried to go into the thoughts of different great men, including Sri Sri Thakur Anukul Chandra, who is the inspiration of this Cradle Global Webinar Series. Today, in the 18th session of this webinar series, we have with us Dr. Nrishingho Prasad Tripathi. We welcome Dr. Tripathi in this session. Dr. Tripathi had an illustrious career. He got Indian Revenue Service in 1969 after having education in economics and other subjects. And then he rose to the rank of Director General of Income Tax in India, the highest position in the tax hierarchy of this country, and retired from that position in 2005. Nonetheless, he is a great poet in Odia language who had actually declined the Sahitya Academy Award in 2003 for very good reasons. And in 2022, we have his book, My Thakur, coming out from Black Eagle Books, a US publishing company with its branch in India. He wrote this book, My Thakur, on the life and work and philosophy, ideology, and economic concepts of Sri Sri Thakur Anukul Chandra with Akshay Mishra. So we welcome Dr. Nrishingho Prasad Tripathi, who has his training in spirituality and being and becoming from Sri Sri Thakur Anukul Chandra as his mentor. Welcome, Dr. Tripathi, our beloved Tripathi-da.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Tripathi-da, you know that our today's program is on finding out some alternative to the afflictions of the current economy and how it should make our living amidst nature a transgenerational progress. So, our topic, today's topic, the broad area is divine economy from money standard to man standard. As an introduction, I just would like to remember that in 1998, in a global economic forum on rethinking poverty in Paris, the finance ministers of all the strongest economic nations all over the world and the great economists, they all came together and they talked about shift from money standard dependence in economy, and they asked for pluridimensional approaches. So from that context, we are having today's discussion. I would request Dr. Tripathi to introduce it with giving us a very short understanding on what generally is meant by economy. Yes.
Economics is a vast subject. It has two aspects. One is the micro aspect and the another is the macro aspect. In the micro aspect, I should plan my expenditure according to my income. Then only economically I will be sound. In macro, for instance a country. A country will know what is its GDP or gross domestic product. Gross domestic product is the production of goods and services in a given point of time. So, economics as a subject deals with production of goods and services, sale of such goods and services, distribution of such goods and services, in short, supply and demand of goods and services. Supply of supply and demand of goods and services, the supply is from a particular place, the particular country. But the demand is our internal demand, which is the demand of inside the country and outside the country.
Uh,
In,
uh,
in, in international scenario, when we export, we get foreign exchange. When we get foreign exchange, we are richer because our USD power increases. Please.
yes, in this regard, I remember Sri Thakur Anukulchandra in 1935 had given English messages in the village called
Mm.
Himayatpur. There he
Mm.
talked about
Yes.
economy from a different
Ah.
angle, which
Mm.
today the economist also in search of alternative may feel appropriate. Let me read from there. To
Mm.
manage the go of life with every progressive step is economy. Here we
Mm.
find the shift from the strict production, consumption, etc., and the product concept to a shift to human beings and the larger life of human beings. So, from there, now I come to the second question. You talked about production, etc. Would you please enlighten us about that production consumption cycle and what are the faults within it?
Production and its demand and consumption, they go on. When supplies are less, demand is more, inflation starts. That means prices of goods and services, they increase. The cycle moves on. After some time, depression takes place. What is depression? Depression is supply of goods and services are more, but demand for such goods and services is not in pari passu with the production of those goods and services. That means there is no purchasing power with the people. To set it right, employment opportunities are created. Money is given to the hands of the people so they can purchase goods. So this cycle goes on, goes on. Now you read out a two lines of Sri Thakur's economic definition, definition of economics. He says progress. That is most important. We have substituted progress for growth. Please mark,
Okay.
growth may be there, but progress may not be there. Now everybody speaks of economic growth, economic growth, economic growth. Economy may grow, but the benefits of our economic growth, unless it percolates down below, what is the use of such growth?
Exactly, you are talking
So,
about trickle down theory of
yes,
the benefit
trickling
of,
down theory.
yeah. Please.
Say, I say, take for instance, in India, we are our whole because I am a small man. There are big economists and all that, but we are always guided by government policies. The clamor for small scale industries and cottage industries is coming up from a very, very long period.
Yes.
Sri Sri Thakur, before 1930s,
Hmm.
already said it is in books at the time of discourses. He said, India allow Bharat to remain as Bharat. There is no point in imitating the West. For everything we imitate and follow the West in our living, in our economic policies, and so on and so forth. So that is we must have our economic system according to our needs. Ours is a country with abundant population. Population is our power, but there is absolute unemployment. There is chaos. Why? Because we have so far opted for
Hmm.
capital intensive industries where labor is not there. And when capital industries they grow up in cities, labor problem, labor unrest is going to be there. So production in all public sector undertakings is at loss. Why? Because that personal care is not there, that is number one. Number two, we have adopted a faulty economic policy. Why? Again, because those advanced countries, they produce the machineries and they
Yes.
want to sell it to us, they coax us. There are so many other considerations apart from the economic considerations.
Uh,
So sometimes we are bound, though don't you think that if this small problem occurs to a small man like me, does it not occur to the great economists of India? Yes, but at times we are not able to follow it. As a result, we have got capital intensive techniques and the youth, the youth force is now unemployed. We
so
should go, please.
yes. So actually, that capital intensive and machine intensive industrial activities, which
Ah,
gradually has become the norm of the industrial capitalism. So
yes.
that will not work for India
Hmm,
because it will not give much employment.
right.
It will not give much employment. So there would be unrest normally. And
Yes.
also, there would be pollution, the climate change, negative climate change,
Absolutely.
which is a very serious issue, very
Yes,
serious.
absolutely.
Uh, so, with regard to this, and then another point is this, as because the cost has come down, so there would be enormous profit, wealth accumulation in the hand of say 3% of the total population having more than 90% of the
Power.
wealth, and there
Right.
is no trickle down. Trickle down. This is the sign of
Yes.
no trickle down. And this no trickle down is a sign of failure of economy for egalitarian purpose. Now, in this regard, I remember what Sri Thakur Anukul Chandra talked when he had
Ah,
discourse with American devotees and inquisitives, which had come out from the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan series in
yes, yes.
1916. He said,
Hauserman. Yes.
yes, Ray Archer Hauserman
Ray Hauserman.
compiled that. Compiled that.
Yes.
So there
Yes.
Thakur says, where capitalists are not laborious to serve the laborers,
Hmm.
to make them efficient,
Hmm.
Mammon, with a sightful glimpse, converts money into mud.
True.
And where laborers deceive the capitalist without
Ah,
being profitable to them,
hmm.
and negligently usurp the maintenance which makes them fit in life,
Ah,
Saturn, with embezzling laughter, presents them a black necklace with a steel rope that pulls them towards vanity. Now, in India,
yes.
not only in India, across the world, we have seen the strikes in the one side, and how these strikes had uh, made wrong of the industrial progress of countries. And at the same time, still we are finding that yawning gap between wealth of a very few and wealth of most of the people. So,
Sisi Thakur has. Okay, okay. Please complete.
yes, so this problem is a persistent problem. And you have already told that depression in a cycle comes again and again. So,
Now, now,
yes,
if you take the global scenario,
yes,
industrialization and militarization.
yes, this military industrial
Industry.
complex that is
Yes.
working.
Yes.
In
So
one word,
that
that
is
is
that is our ego. Sisi Thakur has talked so many things. He says the whole globe will be destroyed due to the ego of the great leaders. That is why he has said that there will be a point of self excretion. What is self excretion? That everybody is tired. See what is happening now in Ukraine and in
yes.
Russia. How many people have lost their life? What is this nonsense? What is going on? But nobody is serious about it. Everybody wants to take any advantage which satisfies his ego. This is either the
So,
ego of America or the ego of Putin.
so
So
uh, we have understood the problem.
once we are for a peaceful living, we must reduce our expenditure on military. Once we do that, it can
Yes,
be worked to develop. Now, there are two things. In the advanced countries, less number of people earn much more than his Indian counterpart.
yes.
The labor is cheap in India. That is why our IT industries are flourishing. Because if America puts such IT industry in America, it will be very, very costlier. That is why it takes it from India. So that is what we call the brain drain. But
Uh,
one good aspect, brain drain, brain drain, brain drain from India to other countries. But
hmm,
one good aspect of it is when people work from here,
hmm.
not going there and settling down there, we get foreign exchange. When we get foreign exchange, it also enhances our GDP to some extent.
Right. So there are both sides. In fact, any system is not foolproof, but this system, which goes through the cycle of depression and boom, and also which creates invariably the yawning gap between the have and have nots, that needs to be addressed. That needs to be addressed.
that is
Now,
that is what.
after after understanding the problem, let us come to the solution side. Let us come to the solution side. While I'll be asking from you for the solution side in the line of divine economy, in which you seem to be an expert, I would just delineate few of it. Number one, uh, it is very clear from the only industrial capitalist perspective, it is not possible to develop the country, not only of India, all over the world, because it will not be sustainable. It will not be sustainable, number one. Number two, in this industrial capitalist system, profit, the motive of profit, it often is beyond control of the capitalist or other persons who are the agencies who spread and maintain the capitalism. So, this greed and absence of ethics or coming down of ethics in the name of rationalization, rational, there is a conflict between individual rational and the social rational. So, all these aspects are very important with reference to when we think that the economy must bring welfare and prosperity to everyone and give everyone enough scope to work. With reference to this, I would like to ask you how a state should take its role with reference to this shift, because without that, we'll be always in the cycle. Yes, Dr. Tripathi.
No doubt there is growth. We must admit that now mm, food supply has increased.
Yes,
India has become self-independent with regard to food, and we are exporting. Our foreign exchange reserve has increased. Our GDP has increased. All that is possible. All that has happened. 50 years back, what was our standard of living? Now it has also increased. But what we are thinking of is not only economics, but also for creating good human beings. There is a oft quoted saying of Sri Sri Thakur,
mhm,
money is not yours but man.
yes.
Money is not yours but man. Earn as much money, as much man as you can.
That is shift to man standard.
Ha. If I tell this, everybody will think, say me that you are a fool.
Yeah.
Instead of money, you are asking not to earn money. What is this?
Mm.
So that is precisely the madness. Go on earning money, go on earning money, go on earning money. We do not know what to do with that money. Great.
Yes.
I must have a flat in Bombay. I must have the most expensive car. That see how economics is playing mischief. This is we are in India. We are having a suppliers market. The supplier determines what will purchase or what will not purchase. What will not purchase. So many advertisements for gold ornaments. If you go to a gold ornament shop, you have to keep in line. Every day we are seeing in the first page of the paper, but it is a waste. Gold ornaments is purchased and it is sent to the bank to be kept in the locker. But craze, so much is the craze because advertisement, then so many other things. We are induced to go for consumption. Now, in private in private economics or in personal economics, expenditure should rise up to income. I have such of income. I have an income of 100 rupees. I must spend 75 rupees and save 25 rupees for my rainy day or for posterity. Now, what is that? Now, the situation is my income is 100 rupees, but I have got a plan of 150 rupees. How do I get this 150 rupees? So I will adopt corruptive practices. That is why
Or
it has
loan. I take a
a
loan, there will be cycle
loan
of loan.
cycle.
Vicious cycle of
It,
loan.
it has a tremendous impact on the character of an individual.
Yes,
So, growth is there, but there is no progress.
yes, Thakur
We are
অনুকূল
growing.
Thakur অনুকূল Chandra in this regard had a very interesting message. He
Ah,
said, it is not a fact that material economy is the stay of life. Today
ah,
we think material economy is the stay of life. But he says, it is not a fact that material economy is the stay of life, but it is true and an eternal fact that chaste and compatible economy of genetics. Very important, this point. Economy of genetics is the wealth of the world. We get a new coinage. Economy of genetics is the wealth of world, though foolish conception forgets it. Dr. Tripathi has just said that we have all those materials, but corruption is increasing. Uh, was he hinting towards that economy of genetics which produces chaste and compatible human beings, or the human resources about which the world is so much agonized? Then Sisi Thakur says, origin of economic adjustment is family, and country crops up from chaste, healthy, and compatible eugenic relation within similar clans. Now, we are coming to the last part. Dr. Tripathi will be with us. There is some technical glitch. So, because we are from different parts of the world joining in this program, and myself and Dr. Tripathi are at least, say, around 600 kilometers away. Um, uh, so, we'll come to that last part, but last part is the solution part. That is the what should be then one approach, one of the approaches in the pluridimensional solution to this poverty, to this huge gap of wealth between people, and also the huge problem of corruption, and every few years the depression creating havoc among people, wiping out all their wealth. In our very much greed driven industrial capitalist model of economy, we have seen that agriculture has receded into a minor role. An analysis of the GDP of a country and contribution of different sectors would tell that. But this is an area where, in most of the countries, people can have more gainful employment with improvement in agriculture, not in the machine intensive form. And the agricultural sector has many subsectors which are interconnected, So, Sri Sri Thakur Anukul Chandra in this regard is highly relevant because he talked about this sector very much. This sector very much he talked about, and his experiment starting from the Himayatpur village in East Bengal from 1918 was on that, how people would insulate them from the vagaries of the world. Today, during globalization and in the cry of localization, there is one important aspect. The aspect is that of, can we save people or people save themselves by not destroying their own skills, own capabilities, and they should not serve to the greed. With expansion of market to the rural areas, small cities, the entire way of life is getting changed. So Sri Thakur talked about it, and Sri Thakur tried to make it a practice that the people should not depend on outside agencies. Yes. So let me talk about the divine theory. Now we are coming to the solution to the problems. For long, the 100% of the solutions were based on the dominant paradigm that we have to create industry, we have to create urban centers, we have to make democracy work, we have to have the education, not in terms of uh, education of the family, education of the land, education of the space, but education called literation, and also mediatization. So we have so far followed it. And all the plannings of different governments are with that. But with that, over a period of time, from the time of Marshall Plan after Second World War, very few countries could come out from the underdeveloped status to the developed status. And very few small countries had actually been successful. So, if a system does not work for most of the people, most of the countries, certainly we need to change from it. Sri Thakur talks about that we should not break the spring of our tradition with reference to our occupation, with reference to our resources, with reference to our interconnect with the nature, which in later day has been reflected in the literature of sustainable development. Sustainable development. So Thakur's entire concept of divine economy, here divinity means the understanding of cause, understanding of reason, and from there to have a sustainable solution. So What did he talk about economics in general? He looked into economics as a part of the holistic existence of a human being. So he said the main thing for every individual is to maintain his life and growth with apt nourishment. There are four pillars for it: education, agriculture, industry, and proper marriage for good progeny. We get it in Message, Volume 4. So, um, these four pillars. But we find in policies of countries excessive dependence on one pillar, that is industry. Even agriculture has been converted into an industrial mode. Industrial mode. So, if the family, the first is that education. Now, how this education works? Education is actually creating systematic behavior, the behavior which will make all of us profitably active for our family and for our country. Uh, and for that, there must be regular practices. Sri Thakur Anukul Chandra had uh, given the way of Ishtavriti and Sostani two approaches for that. His divine economy, the concept of divine economy passes through the ambitious concept of service to the humanity and nature. He talks about selfish service, but that selfishness is not of only I, but of realization that my I is actually fulfilled by the entire progeny of beings and nature. So that was his approach to selfishness. And his rationality was that of universal approach to life and considering that growth, that development, and that progress is a holistic phenomenon of human being in individual existence and social existence. So he talked about chaste economy of genetics. Now, this is a very big area. We are not going into this, but in a nutshell, Sri Thakur's divine economy talks about planning a country's, or states, or communities, or families way of being and becoming with human at the center. Human at the center. And in modern social science, we call it social capital, the networking, social capital, etc., we talk about. So this interinterestedness and interconnectedness among people with human as the center of my consideration, not the money, we definitely would become more service oriented, care oriented. If we start caring each other and also the nature, we can easily realize the potential in us to live a blissful life. We have to decide whether we need a very fast growth, which will not be sustainable, and or we will be growing slowly and slowly, but steadily. I am thinking about the race between um, the hare and the that in Bengali we call it kachim, kachop. So that race. Now, human development in which economics is basically, if we take the Greek root of it, economics is basically the principle of running the home. The country and the globe is our bigger home. But it passes through our home only. As in our home, we try to make equitable distribution between son and daughter, husband and wife. So, is it not that at the national and international level also, that should be our guiding principle?
Am I audible?
So, this man standard of
Biplav
economy,
da.
yes, yes, Tripatida. So, I had been discussing about the divine economy in terms of Sri Thakur and also in terms of developing community from within. Now, uh,
Hello?
yes, Dr. Tripathi, are you listening to me? Dr. Tripathi, are you able to listen to me? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes. Uh, uh, okay. His connection is creating problem, technical glitches. Uh, uh, so, this is in a nutshell what divine economy concept thinks about. Thinks about. Uh, 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 when Dr. Tripathi, mm,
Hello?
yes, yes, Dr. Tripathi, are you able to listen to me? Are you able to listen to me? Uh, Dr. Tripathi,
Hello?
yes, are you able to listen to me? Hello? Okay, till Dr. Tripathi connects to us, let us have um, our questions for him.
Arghya?
We'll, yes, uh, are you able to listen to me? Are you able to listen to me? Uh, uh, Let me go back to, meanwhile, he will connect. Let me go back to that divine economy from money standard to man standard. Sri Thakur said, money is simply an instrument. Don't give an instrument an overarching control on you. Don't give it. So, what is the way? He told that also. Your maya for the money should be lessened, it should decrease. How it is possible? If you can every day have a practice of it where you shed some of your earnings for greater cause, you connect with the God, you connect with the living ideal. There begins the journey where you will shed the overarching influence of money on you. Uh, mm, so, with that, it starts. And he gave
ସବୁ
it
ଅଛି
in.
କିନ୍ତୁ ତାଙ୍କ ଭଏସ ଶୁଭୁନି ସେମାନେ କଟ୍ ହେଇଗଲେ
Yes, Dr. Tripathi,
ହଁ
uh, are you able to listen to me? Are you able to listen to me? Okay, okay. So let me continue. That divine economy. So that divine economy's first instrument is where you shed or where you come out from the maya of money as the overarching controlling mechanism upon you. And for that, you have to practice how you can earn, and from earning, You can shed a portion without having any pain in you, and you will keep this much for you, with which you can have a good living, but at the same time you can have enough saving for the rainy days, as Dr. Tripathi told. The second principle given for this divine economy is that you have to take care of your health, health of mind and health of body. You have to take care of both, and and also you must have a control on your good desires, and you should be able to implement it. You have to create capacity for it. So he talked about a concept called Sustainous estate. Sustain, the word sustain comes from shu, osti, and oyan. Shu means good, osti means existence, and oyan means the dynamism of it. Dynamism of it.
10ଟା ବେଳେ ମୁଁ ଅଫ୍ କରିବି କାରଣ 9ଟାରୁ
Uh,
10ଟା ଶୁଭୁନି କାଳେ
uh,
ସେମାନେ ଆସିବେ ଲୋକ
uh,
ଶୁଣୁଛନ୍ତି।
Dr. Tripathi, are you able to listen to
ହ୍ୟାଲୋ
the hello? Uh, we have a question, Dr. Tripathi, from Shati Sarkar. What exactly is the difference between growth and progress in economic parlance? Are you able to listen to Dr. Tripathi? Yes, perhaps Dr. Tripathi. Okay. So, in short, let me answer to Shati Sarkar's question. What is the difference between growth and progress in economic parlance? See, these two words, growth has come from grow, and progress has come from another root. Now, progress is more sustainable over, say, years and over generations, because it does not have the ambition to have a very fast race. It's not a 100-meter race or 200-meter race. But in the industrial capitalist setup of today's world, in that setup, there is a jostle for running in the 100 meters race and go up in the ladder very high, creating all the imbalances. So, growth is for those parameters which can measure your different parameters, like, say, national income, gross domestic products, etc., etc. But progress is far more than that, and it ultimately stresses more on human existence and its gradual development. Dr. Tripathi, hello, hello. Uh, Dr. Tripathi, there is another question. This question is from Shashwat Sinha. Is this the right time to think of a global economy independent of US dollar? The monopoly of USD and the frequent sanctions made by the US is a threat to developing nations. Uh, I think, see, the dollar as the main currency or the reference currency is only a part of the problem. Part of the problem. Say India is trying to have its export import relations in which the rupee would be the currency of trade. And China is also trying, some other countries are also trying. Dr. Tripathi, hmm, uh, so if we look into, now we are dependent on US dollar. There was earlier gold standard, then there is, and still the gold is to be in the reserve, and other very precious metals are to be there. Then the petroleum, talked about petrodollars. We talked about petrodollars. Uh, so if this time is right time or not depends on how the countries actually, especially the big countries, create their own resilience where their economy would be less disturbed and less dependent on outside influences.
Hello.
Yes, Dr. Tripathi. Dr. Tripathi, are you able to listen to? No, Dr. Tripathi's uh, link is again lost. So what I was telling, that it's not a question of only US dollar. If instead of US dollar we have any other currency trying to rule, that is not good. That is not good. Instead, our motto should be that all the countries of the world should be resilient enough from inside. They should have capacity that the global turmoils would not be able to uh, distract them, devastate them. That is more important. And there is nothing wrong if some country gives a benevolent leadership to the world, which India gave earlier. Before the Britishers came, India had often given the benevolent leadership without trying to dominate anyone. If it is given, the world would really like to have those countries as Vishwagurus. Dr. Tripathi, are you able to listen to? So, when we think of a global economy independent of USD, let us first think about human existence, independent of greed on money. Because till the money standard is the ruling standard, there would be
ଆମ
race
ପାଖକୁ ଆସୁଛି ଯେ
money dominance.
ନେଟ୍
Dr. Tripathi, Dr. Tripathi, so Shashwatji, I hope we would look into this question from various angles so that we have a understanding of the holistic existence of human beings, and where the dependence of on money is actually hindering many of the other aspect developments, and basically making us very cocooned. So Surya Prakash Mahapatra has asked, the world is madly running after money and wealth. Is it really possible to reverse the trend? Uh, it may be two-way, $1 million question or a begging a question. Any of the that. Uh, see, I reverse the question. The world is madly running after money and wealth. So, can it be possible for the world to avoid dependence on money and have control on wealth instead of wealth controlling them. Now, it boils down to the concept of divine economy. Gandhiji's trusteeship also had some reverberations for this second approach. That you have money, but you feel that this money is God's gift to you, with which you will serve the humanity and the nature. And then you are not running after money, but your efficiency, your skill, your competence has created enough scope for you to earn money. And money begets wealth. But money cannot beget the greatest wealth, that is the health of mind and health of the body, that is sound mind and body. If it was so that the biggest hospitals in the world would have been the biggest places where sound body and health would have been there. And you know the problem of our country and many countries, that most of the people's earnings, highest part goes into wastage in having treatment. That's no development actually. That's no development actually. So instead of running after money and wealth, let us run after competence, skill, service mentality, and we'll be having the same result. Money would be serving us, wealth would be serving us, but we are not controlled by them. Okay. What is the next question? Is there any question, or we'll sum it up? Yes, I find. Okay. Monish Panjabi's question is, can our aim to achieve financial excellence be called greed? I've just answered to it, perhaps before the question was asked. When I answered to Surjo Vikas Mahapatra's question, see, achieving financial excellence cannot be called greed. Because excellence comes out of devotion, excellence comes out of the effort to refine skill, to certainly moderate one's attitude, and to certainly connect one with a distant goal, aim. And looking into finance as a way to achieve it. Way to achieve it. So, if we call it financial excellence, and also the financial excellence can also be that how the financial instruments can be manipulated in such a way that it would help the country, people.
Am I audible?
For the same. Yes, you are audible. Now, are you able to listen to us? Tripatida? Hello?
Hello.
Are you able to listen to me? We will
নাই চলা যা গরম কর
uh,
কমে গেছে
so this was our last question.
ଆଉ ସରିଲା ତ ଆଉ କଣ କରିବ
Okay, Dr. Tripathi could not connect us. It is persisting in his end. So that was, yes, financial excellence is not greed. Financial excellence is
এটা ইউএস ব্যাঙ্গালোর কানাডা সব মিশিয়ে
is of of developing a skilled person with proper attitude, proper emotional intelligence, who can create instruments which can make finance serve the cause of the humanity in a larger sense. So it's certainly not greed. With this, we will be wrapping up our discussion. Let me quickly, we started with what is economics, and then what are the problems? The problems we found with Dr. Tripathi speaking out, that depression, the cycle of depression, and then corruption, and also the excessive obsession with growth instead of development, instead of progress, are the problems. So, the solutions, one set of solutions among many, is in the divine approach to economy, means an approach where we can shed some of, have a practice of shedding uh, on everyday basis from our earning, having less maya for our say money, but not, it is inappropriate to make use of money for the cause of self-sustenance, self-growth, the growth of the community, growth of the country and the world. But it is very important that the man should be at the center, and the concern for man should be the controlling apparatus of us, not money as the controlling apparatus. So the challenge of next policy level is this, because without this it is very difficult to stop the climate change problems which would devastate the world, and also would create more problems where humans would forget that they are human beings. Thank you all for staying with us for long despite the technical glitches. So, with this ends our Cradle webinar Global Series 18th session. We had with us Dr. Nrsimha Prasad Tripathi and myself, uh, Professor Biplav Lohochaudhary from Vishwabharati and Editor-in-Chief of International Journal of Peace, Education and Development. Thank you all. Stay for the next session in next month.